Welcome to the Naughty Child podcast. With me, Richard.
And me, Polly.
I'm the dad.
And I'm the daughter.
And this is Today at the Cricket.
Home Commonwealth games in their home city at their home ground.
I'd still take a Commonwealth goal.
It's pushing me on a little bit further. It's just, I've kind of tasted what it's like, and I just want to keep it going now.
Our Māori culture is massive as part of our sports identity, and that's something with the New Zealand Commonwealth Games team that's really been brought in, and it's really different probably for the White Ferns girls.
The potential to play in a Commonwealth.
I think for us, we've sort of talked about as a team being part of a wider national team.
That would be one of the highlights of my career.
It's definitely something that we're all looking forward to. I know it's a different environment. It's not, the way we used to tours.
But we're going to Birmingham and we're part of the New Zealand team. We're not the White Ferns, we're the New Zealand T20 cricket team.
So, Polly, today is Tuesday, the 2nd of August, and we've been to a match today.
Yes, this morning we went to England versus South Africa.
At Edgbaston, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I did too, and I think it was really good because it was scheduled to rain a bit, but we didn't really get any rain at all.
No, it was nice.
Obviously, weather didn't affect the game, and it was a really nice hot day.
Yes, and I really enjoyed watching England play. So we haven't seen them. So far we've seen it. We've actually been to the ground to see India, Pakistan, India, Australia. So this is our first time seeing England, and I thought they were quite impressive. Yeah,
I was very impressed. The only thing I would say about the game: do not sit by the pyrotechnics because it was a bit much, especially on a hot day. So that was interesting.
Yeah, the fire flying up every time. Yeah,
and England hit a lot of fours, so it was quite regular. I mean, cheers, Alice Capsey. Speaking of Alice Capsey, she got her maiden international half century, and she is the youngest player to do it for England in T20s.
By Alice Capsey, do you mean friend of the pod, Alice Capsey?
Friend of the pod, Alice Capsey. He still had a little bit of a black eye, but it clearly hasn't affected her performances recently. I thought she played so well, and there were times where I was like, she is quite literally playing with fire here. Like I was like, if South Africa were a better fielding side, she could have been out about 3 times. But no, I thought she did play really well though.
Yeah, well, she was close to being caught out, but there weren't really chances, were they, as such? But it was just, you could see, she took risks and they paid off. Yeah. And yeah, it's getting to the point now, having seen her play for England today and then a couple of previous matches, I can't imagine her not playing for England.
Yeah, this is something I've noticed with kind of new players. You think Alice Capsey, Freya Kemp, Izzy Wong. Actually, they really belong in this side, and I kind of can't see a starting 11 without them. And to me, they've become really important members of the. I mean, you think Alice Capsey, she was vital really in the last 2 games.
Totally, yeah, and I guess stepped up when she was needed. Yeah, and that's all you can ask her to do. So that was good. It was. If I was I guess we talked through the scorecard a little bit. So. South Africa won the toss and put England into bat, which I was quite pleased about because I wanted us to.
This is the weird thing about South Africa. It's like in Leicester on the hottest day of the year, South Africa won the toss, but decided to bowl first when it was at its peak temperature. I was like, okay, interesting decision. Didn't pay off. And then they put us into bat first this morning, which I suppose in the end wasn't the right tactic. I mean, England would probably have beaten them either way, but
yeah, I mean, Dunkley was out early, so only got 1.
It was incredible delivery from Shabnam Ismail. I was very impressed with that.
Danny White had a nice little cameo, which is all you need. But yeah, it was all about Capsey, really.
Yeah, I do have to mention Amy Jones, 36 not out, and you said just before, I just want to see Amy Jones get runs.
Yeah, I'm so pleased for her because she's looked a little bit out of sorts as a batter. As a keeper, not
always
a problem.
On fire.
Yeah.
So good.
So it was great to see her get some runs for England. Actually, for Sparks, she's been fine batting as well, hasn't she? So, but to do that for England has been really, really good. And Catherine Brunt as well. Really, really good. My Boucher was run out.
That was very strange. She just stopped running.
Well, I think it was going for a second run, wasn't it, with Amy Jones, and it was shall we, shan't we, yes, no, and at one point they were both running in the same direction down the pitch, which is always a bad look, isn't it? And it just, whenever I see a run out like that, I just feel kind of bad because it's a horrible way.
Yeah, especially because she hadn't really been given a chance to do anything yet and have an impact.
Yeah, but also it's about communication and relationship between two players, and actually that can really sour things, can't it? When one runs out another.
Yeah, and as from the Great England performance did come some poor South African bowling, in particular Nadine de Klerk, who went for 34 runs from her 2 overs.
Well, first over went for 20, second over went for 14, so she was kind of on a upward curve of improvement. But that was but that sometimes happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happens. It's one of those things. It just shows the quality of England batting, really. It was. I mean, some of the balls were bad, but it wasn't necessarily bad bowling. It was just good England batting.
Yeah. So England posted 167 for 5. Which is a challenging total. It's not ungettable, but it's challenging. In fact, it's exactly the same total that New Zealand posted against South Africa in the first game. And South Africa got within 13 runs of that in the first game. They didn't get that close today, though.
Sorry, just yawned. I'm really tired.
So I'm boring you, Pop.
Just been training, working hard.
I guess the first thing to say is that they put on 64 runs for the first wicket, which is absolutely great, except they took 9 overs doing it.
Yeah, it was far too slow.
So they're already a kind of an over behind the required, where England were at that point. So they weren't losing loads of wickets, but they weren't progressing the innings. Now, of course, if you take risks, you're more likely to lose wickets. But actually, they had the wickets to lose.
And one thing I was really pleased to see today is the fact that they changed the batting order around.
Yes.
Wolvart coming in at 3, then getting Chloe Tryon ahead of Dupree because Tryon is a more explosive batter. And I thought that was actually something positive for once, because I think we've been saying, okay, why is Wolvart batting so far down? She needs to bat in the power play, or just as, not too far into the game, because she's coming in and, the damage is already done and she can't really save it.
So she came in the 10th over. So there was a chance for her to save things. And her and Tryon batting together for a while, that looked good.
Destructive. Good.
And so coming up to about the 16th over, you could say things, South Africa, if these two stay together, South Africa got a real chance. But of course they didn't.
Yeah.
So Catherine Brunt got Tryon out, caught on the boundary by Freya Kemp.
I must say, I was very pleased with that catch, because it's one of those where it wasn't a particularly difficult catch, but because it's in the air for so long, you can just overthink, cool, calm, collected, just call it. Nice.
Mignon came in and did what she had to do, which was throw the bat and take a risk, and which meant she was caught on the boundary as well. And then again at the end, they just it just sort of petered out, really, didn't it? They sort of got to a point with a couple of overs to go, thinking we're not going to win it, so we'll just knock a few singles. And
it was a bit disappointing. I have to say again, Freya Kemp bowling and then being stumped by Amy Jones.
Yes, yeah, that's extraordinary, isn't it, for a pace bowler? That's 2 of her international wickets now stumpings.
Yeah. Also, Sarah Glenn, I feel so bad for her. Yeah. Those 2 reviews didn't go her way. One of which I think should have gone her way, but
we spent an awful lot of time.
A lot of rock and rolling,
watching the screen, to decide where the glove ends and the arm begins, and how long the spikes of someone are who's being stumped, and so on.
Yeah, but it's a bit bit all over the place. But England convincingly won, which, positive.
Yeah, and really well done to the England team who all came to the boundary and signed autographs and mingled really nice at the end.
I need to mention about Lara Goodall doing like the double take.
Yeah.
Because we were sat right by where the South African dressing room is, where they walk up. And so we went over to clap them because, we're nice people like that. And so a couple of players said, "Oh, thank you." Shabby Misma was very nice.
She was, wasn't
compared
she?
to how fiery she was on the pitch, she was very nice. But then Lara was like, "Thank you." Like, "Oh, thank you." Yeah. And was really grateful about it. So, no, I thought that was really good. Then in the evening there was another game.
Yes, indeed. So the other game from Group B, New Zealand against Sri Lanka. So New Zealand batted first, and Sri Lanka are a very good bowling team, and they caused them all sorts of problems. And
this is what we saw against England, that their batting is kind of non-existent. However, their bowling, their spin bowling, is just so difficult to play, and it's kind of shocking teams, because I mean a lot of teams haven't played against Sri Lanka for a couple of years, so again it's just, I don't know, a bit of a shock for a lot of teams. I think especially for England, because that was the first game I think for them. Was it? It was England Sri Lanka. Yeah, first game.
Yeah. So considering Bates and Devine, the strongest opening partnership in the world. And they put on 51 for the first wicket in 7 overs. That was really good. But once they were gone, then the rest of the team really struggled and wickets fell at very regular intervals. So top scorer was Bates with 34, and then Devine with 24. And then after that, it's just a few lower scores down the innings. So finally posting 147 for 7, which I guess we all knew that was almost certainly going to be enough to beat Sri Lanka. But I think probably the best comparison with it is what England did when they beat Sri Lanka. Is we scored 109 for 5 off 17 overs, chasing 106, I think, that Sri Lanka had posted. So we were probably heading towards getting about 130 if we would have been batting first. So New Zealand actually did better against this bowling attack than England did. Again, which is an interesting comparison between the two sides.
I mean, I think New Zealand have been really strong throughout the tournament so far. I mean, at the end, Leitahuhu 20 from 8 balls, really good. And yeah. More questions. Why does she not have a contract? So, the only thing I would have it's one of those things that with England, it's been a really positive thing to bring young players in, and it's paid off really, really well. However, someone like Eden Carson, who's been brought into the side, I believe this is her first tour. It kind of she's been expensive. She's got a couple of wickets. I think she's got 2 wickets today, but the other game very expensive as well. So it's an interesting one at kind of, I suppose, a similarity with Izzy Wong, that actually she is a bit expensive, but she can get wickets. So I think I haven't been blown away by, similarly with Fran Jonas, haven't been particularly blown away, but I think we kind of need to give them a bit of time, really.
I guess it's how do you integrate new players within your squad, within your side. And I think England have been particularly good at this.
Yeah.
So, we talked about the people who have that sense of belonging already in the England side. And that comes from good performances and being supported, but actually it comes from being around the group.
Yeah.
Or a squads, or over a longer period of time. So I think if you just parachute 18-year-olds into your squad and just say, get on with it, that's going to be quite a difficult process for them to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. But I think Izzy Gay's the new wicket-keeper's done well. I mean, I'm not wicket-keeper in any way, but I'd imagine stepping up to international cricket as a wicket-keeper is a lot harder because everyone's kind of relying on you.
It's a big learning curve, yeah. And you know, she missed a stumping in this game as well towards the end. She's going to learn a lot by doing it, isn't she?
Yeah. But anyway, Sri Lanka really struggled with the bat, which wasn't a surprise. I mean, De Silva got 36. It was from 35 balls, so she took a while. But, I mean, that was probably the biggest positive from...
Yeah, Ranasinga's 18 as well. Yeah. But the rest was all single figures. Atapatu was out in the first over.
Yeah, which is kind of where it... Yeah. If she doesn't get firing, then Sri Lanka will struggle.
Yeah. So it was an enjoyable match to watch. So Sri Lanka got a similar total to what they got against England. So New Zealand won very, very comfortably. So that means that New Zealand sit on the top of the group.
Yeah.
Ahead of England on run rate. And of course, those two teams play each other on Thursday. We're going to be there. And that will decide who's top of the group and who's second in the group, which is significant, of course, because the person who's top of the group plays the second in the other group. And I guess what we're wanting to do is to avoid Australia in semis and save beating them for the final.
Of course. But I'm really excited for the England-New Zealand game because I think it is going to be a very good matchup. England haven't been particularly challenged yet, to the point where, they could lose a game. But I think New Zealand could do that. And I think actually that might be a really good thing for especially the young players to experience. So, for example, Freya Kemp bowled in the last over today, but actually it kind of didn't really matter what she did because South Africa weren't going to win. But actually put her in that situation where she has to defend, 10 runs or even less than that. That is giving people better experience, and that's a situation that could be very realistic in a semi-final or final. So I think England might make a couple of changes as well. We were saying about just in case they have to play players in the semi-finals or finals who they haven't played so far in the tournament, actually that might be their opportunity to do it.
Yes, I mean, Heather Knight is a good example. We can presume she's going to be fit at some point in the tournament. So will she play on Thursday? And then the other unused squad members as well. So, for example, Bryony Smith, Kate Cross,
Freya Davis.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that would seem to make sense to freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see. Tomorrow there are two more games.
Yeah.
So it's from the Barbados against India.
Yes.
And Australia against Pakistan.
So I guess we expect Australia to absolutely hammer Pakistan.
Yeah.
But Barbados-India is, it's a knockout game, isn't it? Whoever wins that game goes through alongside Australia. You
would imagine India. However, Barbados are full of surprises.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I would imagine India would win. But I would love if Barbados got through. I mean, I love an underdog story, so I always say this. But how cool would that be?
Yeah, and that would be two tournaments running that the Caribbean team has knocked India out.
How good. But anyway, we will be back tomorrow evening, I think.
We'll record tomorrow evening, yes? Yeah. So, tomorrow is Wednesday the 3rd tomorrow?
Yeah.
So this will come out on the morning of Wednesday the 3rd?
Yeah, and so we'll be back on Thursday morning, which is when we're seeing them in the evening in New Zealand. But there'll be constant cricket. I can't believe, I think we're like halfway through, aren't we?
Yeah, and we've got the most games to see now. So we've got so we've got 5 more games to see.
And we've only seen 3.
Yeah.
I'm already shattered.
Yeah. No, but really enjoying it.
No,
and
Edgbaston's
got a great atmosphere to it.
Oh, today was amazing. It felt so full, like especially where we were sitting. Loads of people cheering the crowd. Danny Wyatt was hyping everyone up. And I don't know, it felt like, I don't know. It was really, really good today. I was very impressed. And just big queues everywhere, which normally I would hate, but it's actually so good to see.
Yeah. Women's toilets. Big queues.
Oh, don't. Just nightmare altogether. Normally I don't have that problem because there's no women at the game, so it's great. But that's what we like. We like big queues.
We like them, yeah.
So we'll be back tomorrow morning.